Turning to politics now, and a London MP has been given one of the Tory party's biggest jobs in the Prime Minister's latest reshuffle. Our political correspondent Simon Harris joins us from Westminster now. Simon, tell us more about this mini reshuffle.
Yes, Lucrezia. Greg Hands, the MP for Chelsea and Fulham, is the new Conservative Party chair. That effectively makes him the Cabinet Minister for election campaigns, which, if the opinion polls are right, might be seen as something of a poison chalice. He got the job after the Prime Minister sacked Nadhim Zahawi over his tax affairs. So when Mr Hands arrived at Tory Party HQ today, he faced an inevitable question.
Are your taxes in order?
Good morning, they most definitely are. Good morning, how are you?
Do you think you can win the next election?
Of course we will. We can and we will.
And Mr Hands has been a Tory MP in London for almost 20 years. Before that, he was a councillor in Hammersmith and Fulham. He faces his first big test in the local council elections in May, when voters in the home counties go to the polls. If the Tories perform badly, that's bound to lead to questions about Rishi Sunak's leadership qualities. The Prime Minister himself today was visiting a district heating centre in King's Cross, where he was keen to talk about another of his appointments. Grant Shapps, the Welwyn-Hatfield MP, has been made the Minister of a new department for energy security and net zero.
It's going to mean that we can reduce people's energy bills. That's so important. It means we can produce more energy here at home, giving us independence and security. And it means we can transition to cleaner forms of energy as we hit our net zero ambitions and create jobs in the process, as we're seeing here today.
Labour pointed out they created a similar department with a slightly different name when they were in power, but the Conservatives abolished it. Labour described today's reshuffle as another day of Tory turmoil.
All right, Simon, thank you.
Last week, we told you about the bitter row between 4 outer London boroughs and the mayor over plans to expand the clean air zone into their areas. Well, today, it appears pressure is further mounting on Sadiq Khan after it emerged another 4 local authorities have now also decided to join the pushback on new ULEZ signs. The mayor is telling them to back down, but they're refusing to do so. Here's our political correspondent, Simon Harris.
Sadiq Khan is on a mission to clean up London's toxic air, but his plan to expand the ultra-low emission zone is being challenged by district and county councils, and it's turning into a fight.
The Conservative councils need to back down from their opposition to clean air.
He says you need to back down.
Well, we don't intend to.
The latest front line in this battle are the signs which warn drivers they're heading for the ULEZ. Transport for London wants to put them on the approach roads to Greater London, the boundary of the new zone. But 4 county councils outside London, Buckinghamshire, Essex, Kent and Surrey, are threatening to frustrate the plan.
We could simply say we are not going to allow you to place signs in Kent's territory.
All that will happen is their constituents, their residents, won't realise they're entering into London and will inadvertently have to pay a fine. Why would they want to do that?
The mayor says you will be to blame if your residents end up paying fines.
Nonsense.
The councils want the mayor to allow more people to claim grants from his scrappage scheme. Londoners on benefits, charities and small businesses can apply, but not if they're in the home counties. The row between the mayor and councils in outer London and the home counties has become increasingly bitter. While some are refusing to cooperate with the ULEZ expansion, others are considering legal action in the courts to try to stop it altogether. Sadiq Khan says research by Imperial College London in 2019 revealed 4,000 premature deaths from toxic air. But in Bromley, council leaders claim the air is some of the cleanest in London, and an elderly population distorts the figures.
As a result of other people living different parts of their lives in different parts of the capital, and some of them will have lived through the smogs of the 50s, 60s, all the bad air in pubs and clubs that we used to have in other places in other times have moved out to Bromley, and sadly this is where they end their days.
Ruth's 6-year-old son has asthma. They live in Hornsey within the existing ULEZ. Ruth has joined a clean air campaign.
Everybody deserves a good start in a clean and healthy environment, and it's just not fair to exclude some children from that.
In outer London, Bexley, Bromley, Harrow and Hillingdon are consulting lawyers. Other boroughs have joined calls for the ULEZ expansion to be postponed. Pressure on the mayor is growing. Simon Harris, ITV News.
Good evening. From raising money to sending desperately needed supplies, communities across London are doing whatever they can to help people in Turkey and Syria affected by the earthquake. Today, the Disasters Emergency Committee launched an urgent appeal for help, but at mosques, community centres, restaurants and in homes, people are already giving. Right now in Hornsey, trucks are being loaded with aid for the survivors of the earthquake, which has killed nearly 20,000 people. For some, it's about helping strangers in need, but for too many Londoners, it is painfully personal. Simon Harris has been speaking to one family in Twickenham.
Sienna and Talia's phones are full of happy memories of their summer holiday. They spent 3 weeks with their Turkish cousins in the port city of Iskenderun. They're a close family. The cousins message each other every day. But on Monday, Iskenderun was flattened by the earthquake. At their home in Twickenham, the sisters were desperate for news.
I woke up Monday morning to my mum crying. I ran downstairs to see what happened, and the only thing I could hear from her was earthquake and my cousin's names and my uncle, and they said they haven't been found yet.
I got picked up by my dad from school and he just basically told me, I'm really sorry, but we've got some horrible news.
I had a look on the news. This horrible, horrible earthquake had just hit southern Turkey.
He said that they're stuck. The family members that we lost now was stuck. And I just turned to him and asked him, what do you mean stuck? I had no idea it was of this level of how bad it was. And I had no idea that it was just because they were just stuck under their ruined block of flats.
I'm really sad to say that 2 of my cousins and my uncle sadly passed away. Their block of flats just was completely damaged, and luckily my auntie survived, but sadly they didn't.
You must all be devastated.
Absolutely. Sorry.
Their cousins who died were Beryl, a pharmacy student who was 21, and her 16-year-old brother Axel, who was still at school. Their father, Junait, was also killed in the earthquake.
My mum has been in such a state, we've had to force her to eat and to drink.
I've never seen her like this before.
They were, on my mum's side, like the closest family that we had.
Something we've been fearing a lot of the time because it's right on the tectonic plates.
Words can't really describe how horrible the feeling is. And when you're just sitting at home and you're just trying to get on with your day and you just remember what's happened to them, and it's like, how can I just get on with my day when this has happened to my family? And it just feels so wrong.
Sienna and Talia have set up an online funding page to try to help their aunt. She's lost 2 of her children and her husband and is now living in a car. Simon Harris, ITV News, Twickenham.